all of you are really ambassadors of this new program that Bloomberg is launching today in partnership with Junior Achievement Europe. Why did you accept to join this initiative, Natasha?
Hi, Francine, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Well, just because it's important to continue, we need to pursue our efforts. Progress has been made, but we're definitely not there yet. So we need to continue to make sure that there are more women in the financial sector and that we can prepare for the leaders of tomorrow. And I thought this was just a fantastic initiative that we could reach out to young women and empower them and tell them that they can succeed in the financial sector. And so we're just really happy to be here, and it's our turn maybe to now return and help other women in their own career thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anneka, you also have a proven track record of major achievements in the financial sector. Can you share some of your own experiences of what were the main challenges that you had to overcome to get to where you are?
Sure. Thanks. Thanks on my side as well for being part of this great initiative. I mean, it certainly felt rather lonely when I sort of started off in my career, and I was really yearning for like-minded people, people that looked a little bit similar. It would have certainly given some comfort, and especially with some of the challenges. I mean, funny anecdote, it wasn't funny at the time, I can assure you, but when one of the first jobs that I started at, that was on the trading floor, in week 1, I actually fainted because I found out later on that I was pregnant in a room full of men, you know, being the only woman on the floor. So these sort of little things, they're silly things in retrospect, but there were a series of challenges that I had personally faced, and very, very keen to spread the supports for other women, like-minded women, hopefully, to mentor them going forward in their careers.
And Katja, what were some of your challenges that you had to get through to get to where you are today?
I think when you are starting in the financial sector, it's always a problem when you are in a bigger round, mostly men, to get heard, because women have a different style of communication. So in a discussion, it's sometimes pretty hard and pretty nasty that men are talking really roughly and fast and getting in the conversation. So I found my way by still staying polite, but being on the point and start to get my points and not being too rude and interrupt men all the time. But I think that's a challenge in communication, because when you communicate pretty well, you get visible, and that's actually a key of making a career in the financial sectors. And that's actually a point which I'm really thrilled about here, being an ambassador at the Bloomberg Network, just to empower young women and show them that we can do more, that we can represent women in the financial sector.
Diana, why did Junior Achievement Europe actually decide to work with Bloomberg on this important issue?
Thank you so much, Francine, for having me here. And thank you so much to all the ambassadors who are joining this initiative. Junior Achievement have been working on entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and work for evidence for 100 years. And our role is really to inspire and prepare young people to succeed in the global economy. But we feel that the job is more important than ever these days. And we've been partnering with Bloomberg for over 25 years. We've been having several sessions across Europe on misinformation, trying to inspire young people. We were working with 1,200 students across 15 European countries. But we had 132 dedicated Bloomberg volunteers, like yourself, that you sign up for this initiative. But we felt that something else is needed. That we felt that they needed a more global balance for the financial sector. The qualities were there. So we wanted to do something more to empower and inspire the young girls. So that's why we are partnering with you. We reach out to the ambassadors like yourself, supporting this initiative and working with us across several countries. We are starting in 7 countries, hoping to reach 350 girls. And you are playing an important role here for them, because you are opening their eyes. You are giving them the opportunities to dream big, to reach to their ambitions. And what we've done is to reach out to ambassadors from all the sectors, on all the positions, so that they really see that everything is accessible to them. So it's really, really important, this, and you cannot imagine what kind of great impact you are having on young people's role when you are there to be their role model and work with them. So that's why we are here. We are super grateful for this collaboration, and thanks again to all the ambassadors for signing up.
Natasha, do you feel like a role model? And actually, if you talk to us about some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome, is it getting easier than when you started, or is it more or less the same?
It's an interesting way of putting it. I think we each have very different experiences and at the same time some similarities. I don't personally feel myself as a role model, but some people do come to me and ask for advice or mentorship. So I feel actually a duty to have something smart to say or to inspire, to express. But basically, personally, I think I had two big challenges. The first was to believe in myself, and that was probably the most difficult one. And it's thanks to amazing men, I have to say, that have helped me build that self-confidence, that to believe that it was possible and I could break that what I thought at least was a glass ceiling. And the second one was to find my own personal work-life balance, what I thought could work so that I could completely embrace the career that was opening up in front of me, and at the same time fulfill what I wanted to be, a mother of 3 kids and a wife present for her husband as well, etc. And finding that right balance and making sure that that was possible. But certainly today for me, this initiative is about reaching out to young women and being able to share our experience and telling them, yes, anything you put your minds to, you can do it, it is possible. And giving the diversity of our different profiles that they can look up and say, yes, maybe that could work for me too.
And Anneka, how does having more women in leading roles in the finance sector actually change the sector and I guess the perception, the portrayal of it as well?
Yeah, but I really concur with what Natasha said, because, indeed, I think it all starts with really having conviction and having confidence in yourself. And I think one of the most difficult things about the financial sector is the level of complexity and jargon. And it's something which I've really come across quite often when I come across women in very senior positions. They really take it upon themselves. It feels like there's a collective mission, but at least I certainly hope that is the case, to start to demystify things, to start to simplify things. And I think especially in the marketplace that we're in today, there's so much disruption, there's so much disintermediation. It's sort of the powerful moment now to be able to look through silos, to be able to keep things simple. And I think that definitely lowers the hurdle for other women, also younger women who are interested in entering the sector, to sort of be able to look at themselves and see, well, what am I good at? And how can that be helpful in this sector, which actually looks very, very complex, but at the crux of it is actually rather simple, if you think about the basic things that, that we are doing.
Katja, do you agree with that? How do is there something else that having women at the top in finance is changing the sector?
Yes, I think it changes the way how the sector communicates, because women have clearly a different style of communication. And I think having more women in the top positions will enable or encourage younger women to really join the financial sector, because right now the financial sector is not the most attractive in the world, because it's like seeing pictures of old men in gray suits, and and maybe marketing is more attractive then because it's cooler and something. And I think the more women we have in top positions and the more we show how interesting and the industry actually is, because it is an interesting industry, and what kind of various jobs we can offer, the more young women will be interested to join that industry. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity to show that here in that Bloomberg initiative.
Diana, what's been hardest? So, we talked a little bit about why Junior Achievement Europe decided to work with Bloomberg on this important issue. But what's been the biggest hurdle in terms of getting your message across to change things?
I think we need opportunities like this one, first of all, Francine, to be able to explain and to raise awareness that it's important to get the role models work with the young people. We saw that it worked. We saw that you are able to change their life and their mindset and give them an inspiration that a teacher will not be able to. So I think the hurdle is how more can we do? We at JR Europe, we reach 4 million young people, but that's just 2% of the young people in schools. So what's happening with the 98%? How can we join forces on initiatives like this one to inspire more youth, more girls to look at careers in different sectors? We saw that when this is happening, the results are there and they do achieve that. And I have a great example. Recently, Roberta Metsola has been selected as President of the European Parliament. She's been in our programs in Malta a few years ago, and a great alumni. So we see that, okay, these kind of initiatives really give a hope, an opportunity to bring it to the young leaders.
I have some great, I have some pretty good statistics, or at least things that we need to mention. So according to the 2017 Women in the Workplace research, women who receive advice from managers and senior leaders on career advancement are actually more likely to be promoted, and yet earlier tenure women receive less encouragement and support from managers and senior leaders in advancing their careers than their male peers. So this is maybe one of the things that's, really making a sticky point. Furthermore, entry-level women in this research, entry-level women are less likely than men to have managers who act as their advocates and help them identify opportunities to pursue, nor do they receive senior leaders' advice on advancement or navigating organization politics as frequently as do men. So how important, Natasha, has mentorship and sponsorship been to your career?
Absolutely critical, because somehow so it's very different. Some women, they have it in them, they have the ambition, and they know how to put themselves forward, and they do that brilliantly, and they should definitely continue to do so. But some women do not. And so it's very important that people can then identify and push them and encourage them. And I think it's for all of us also, women in the organizations, but I would definitely hope men as well can identify potential in women and encourage. And personally, it has been, as I mentioned earlier, absolutely a determining factor for me to see in the eyes of my own managers my capabilities, sometimes even before I myself was convinced that I could move to the next level. And so for me, it's extremely important that these mentors are out there, that they identify the potential and encourage and push. Many women can then go into brilliant positions afterwards. So mentorship is something that definitely we all need to develop, and each one in our institutions, we can also play the role ourselves in certain circumstances.
Yeah, Anneka, can you give us examples of how important or valuable mentorship and sponsorship has been for your career?
Yeah, so I would definitely use the same word, critical. And I've also been very fortunate that men in my work environments, exactly to Natasha's point, have seen what I'm capable of and give me that courage to sort of push me along a little bit to achieve the potential that I have. So I think it's critical. And I think that for women that are also higher up in those positions, I think women have the responsibility, I think that word was already mentioned, to almost see themselves as pioneering a new way for other women to be able to sort of run that course, which means really making a special effort to look at women around, especially younger women, to identify certain skill sets that they see, to really encourage them. Which areas could they potentially specialize in? Where could they really make a difference? Because, I think it's extremely powerful that women have been taught to lean in. But my view has always been that once you lean in, then what? That's where the work really starts. That's where you're expected to actually deliver something, bring something to the table. And if you're not quite sure what you can bring, you're not quite confident enough to bring something, you probably won't lean in the first place. You need that conviction. And I think it's the job of managers, mentors, ambassadors to really help individuals find their conviction.
Katja?
Well, I would say mentorship is really helpful in your career, but I think the point before, how, mostly is clearly in our industry, male mentors, how do you get an eye on you is maybe the most important point, because not every woman who is in the financial sector will get a male mentor. I luckily had, but I think it's really important for women to know. It's really key to make themselves visible, like raising your hand when there is a job to do or a project or something, being confident in yourself, and just having the courage to say, I'm able to do something. Sometimes, you might know only 80% of the jobs. It's a typical male thing when they know 20%, saying, I'm able to do that. And women are looking at something saying, I'm only able to do 80%, I can't do it. And I think this is an attitude we really have to change. We just should make ourselves visible, and then it's more easy to get a mentor, because for the mentor, it's quite comfortable to have somebody who can do the job for them. And that's the thing we can do.
Diana, at the moment, there's also a movement, of course, at the EU level to increase gender equality in the corporate sector, national governments, EU institutions. And I guess there's some progress, but it's glacial. It's not fast enough. So in your opinion, what are the most important measures from, I guess, a policy perspective or how you communicate that can be implemented in the near future to help bridge this gap?
I think more we could do, and definitely we should do. I think it needs to start early, because if we are working early to educate the young girls, to prepare them, to expose them, as I said many times, we heard it is critical, to mentors and to role models. That's very important. Now we know that education is subsidized at the local level, so a lot needs to go to the collaboration with the ministries of education. And this is what we are encouraging. We are working very closely with the local governments to really put an emphasis and priorities for this kind of activities and education. We saw a lot of progress, but much more can be done. And I think that's our role to showcase that those kind of results are really important. It really has a big impact on the girls, because there are many, many initiatives coming out there. How do the school choose which one is the best? I think if we are able to show the impact and the importance of really getting these young girls and young people in general, the kind of role and impact it gives in long term, then we will be able probably to scale up more. And we need partnerships like these ones. We need to collaborate. We need role models and mentors, as you said, to raise the hand and join these forces to be able to make a difference.
Is there a policy, Anneka, Natasha, and Katja, and I'll start with Anneka, is there a policy that actually would make a big difference? There's a problem of timeline and how to measure, because by the time you measure it, then you'd want to be, higher up in terms of representation.
Yeah, it's a tricky one indeed. So, it's a tug of war between what systematic changes do we need in order to really jolt the system? Because simply making people aware of the issue, we've tried this for 10 years, we've not seen huge results. So we need to jolt the system. On the other hand, it's inspiring to see quick wins, quick successes. That gives hope, that gives momentum, etc. You see certain policies that have been put into place with regards to quotas, and you see a kind of knee-jerk reaction. Some people don't like that because of positive discrimination, but the mindset change is achieved immediately. So that's one route. But there are other routes. What we're doing as a company is being very vigilant about, also on the junior side, even with interns coming in, to what extent are we sort of making absolute sure that for every person, that every candidate that we're looking at, there is a female and male equivalence in terms of numbers? To what extent are we tracking that, for every interview that's done at a certain level, the interview panel consists at least of 1 or 2 women within the panel to avoid sort of the biases which come into place? So I think those are small examples of things that can be achieved tomorrow, and hopefully with some success stories that can inspire.
Yeah, and Natasha, what do you see as the biggest policy impact? And I don't know whether it's, even if you do it quickly but it doesn't last, then that will counterfire.
No, it's actually a good point. I think there are a number of policies that are in the European level, more the level of the government, the Commission. So the Commission, the member states and the European Parliament that are trying to push. And there's been a recent initiative to have more women on boards. And we can see that when you have quotas, there is a difference in practice. But from an EU agency's perspective, what I can say is more of a practical perspective. First, promoting diversity is really very core to our European values. So it's something we feel very strongly about, that we feel we have to deliver on. And what we do a little bit, like Anneka was saying, practical steps, making sure from the outset we are an attractive employer so that candidates apply and the women see that they can blossom in the organization, that it's possible. So putting forward role models, making sure that in the recruitment process it's not biased, making sure that the selection panels are not biased. So very practical tools. Another thing I think we need to do collectively is making sure what you said, we have the data, we monitor we monitor over time, and we make sure that that progress is actually, that we are accountable on what's going on. For example, at the European Securities and Markets Authority, we're very proud that we've created the environment to have 54% of our managers that are women. But we want to make sure that this is sustained over time. So we want to continue monitoring that figure, and we want to put in place a more structured, conscious policy that we make sure that we actually deliver on this over time, and it's not just something that is conjunctural.
Katja?
Well, I think from a governance side, the quota is really key because it brings firms in the position that they have to look at diversity. From a company perspective, I think most of what Anneka said, just having role models, support women in their career, offer different opportunities like leadership in part-time, sharing leadership positions, having mentorships at a really early stage, speaking to young women at universities, show them possibilities in that industry.
So, Katja, how do we ensure, and we are seeing more women in leadership, especially at the commission level, certain chief executives as well, but how do we ensure this is reflected at all levels? So you build a stronger pipeline of successful women ready to take on managerial and leadership position roles in the future?
Well, I think education is key here. We have to really start at the very first beginning. University was an example, maybe school. When I look here at Germany, the education in schools for the financial industry is, from my point of view, much too less. We can do more on the school side, on the university side, and start at the really early beginning. Like I said before, the financial industry is not so attractive to women. Personally, I can't understand why, because I'm working in that industry, but I think we have to ensure at this level, for example, in a university or school, that women are interested in that industry, and once they join, support them with mentorship, role models, and all that stuff, and just offer possibilities. In that case, we will have a broader pipeline and not only one woman for the job and 12 men, because we don't have women who are educated in the financial industry.
So, Diana, how do you see, or what do you see the biggest challenge actually to build a stronger pipeline of successful women at all levels?
I think it's important to start early, as Katja said. We start at the age of 5 to inspire them so that they can really understand what the world of work is out there. So we need to start early. We need to engage them with the world of work, because if we do not expose them to role models, they will just learn what they learn in school. And I'll give you an example, because we did run a project in Norway with one teacher. Half of the class was just learning financial literacy course, and half of them were putting it in practice via an entrepreneurship program. And guess what? The ones who are putting it in practice via the entrepreneurship program has better results in financial literacy, are able to understand better all the concepts, and took many more interest in the subject afterwards. So I think the practice, the link to the world of work is important, and also understanding from the top that we need to put an emphasis on this kind of activities, and inspire the teachers, tell them as well, put them in touch as well with the business mentors, because most of the teachers to see the development in the world of work.
Thank you so much. Anna, you were talking about some of the measures at your institution, that you're taking for a more inclusive work environment. What's worked, and what would have made a difference to you when you were starting out?
I think and this is the route that we're certainly we're taking much more seriously now, and I see it's making quite profound impacts, and it's what I would have also really appreciated, and that is showing vulnerability and transparency. So, practical example, our firm commissioned an equal pay report. We were not entirely pleased with the results, but we spoke about it widely. We showed our vulnerability to the organization. We asked the whole organization for help. We made a lot of discussion points on the intranet on that. Because I think that, Katja has also referred to the fact that the financial services industry is typically not so attractive for women. But what I notice is, as soon as you, demystify, simplify the industry, but B, humanize the industry, I find especially the humanization really, really powerful. Have real women talking about real problems that they faced, laughing about it, not taking it too seriously. I also think with the humanization, allow for vulnerability. So dare to take risks, because if companies are still stuck in their comfortable ways of doing things as they know, not taking too many risks, you're likely to get a very undiverse workforce, right? Like will hire like, similar educational backgrounds, similar genders, etc. But if you dare to be vulnerable, you dare to take risks, you bring in a total left field candidate, it might go horribly wrong, it might go excellently well. So I think that's something which I really would have appreciated, and I see it really working. Very, very small example, we did an initiative a few weeks ago, which was really fun. we worked with an external company who brought in a selection of young women, early 20s, who are still studying from all sorts of different backgrounds, who all said, I would never have applied for the industry, but we were encouraged to be here, so let's be here. And we asked them to present a pretty bold picture in terms of what their impression is on our firm, on our way of working, not be scared about it. It was rather critical, but it was quite fun to see such boldness. We really enjoyed it, actually.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Natasha, what are some of the policies that you wish you had, maybe that, that were in place when you started out?
I think I very much like the point on humanization. I think for me, it was the meaning. The financial industry seemed really dry, and a closed environment with only men and something a little bit technical didn't seem attractive. And I think we need to make it attractive. We need to explain how critical it is to the system in general, how important it is to understand how you finance a business, how you create employment. The financial sector is actually at the core of our societies. And so making sure we have that diversity of views around the table is absolutely, very important for the system to function well. This is not to say women are better than men, but you need a different perspective. You need also women around the table to make it work. So I would have liked to get that early. I learned it through my journey, and that's why I'm so happy to be in this industry and to be part of it. But it's something I think we could certainly bring and explain to young women so that they can consider it among the different opportunities that they have.
Yeah, Diana?
We were talking about humanizing, and I wanted to give some example because this is the global money. And activities are starting throughout the world. We are just launching just this week a hackathon where we are engaging girls and boys to really hack the financial challenges that are out there. We are putting together some role models from the risk sector to understand what are the financial risks. We give them the opportunity to pitch their ideas. So we have a lot of these things that are very, very humanized because we put them in touch. We let them work together on those challenging and opportunities and everything they see out there. And I'm really looking forward. We'll tell you more at the end of the week how many of those great stories we get out. But I feel that it's super important to make it as human as possible and really let them express the things that they are good at.
Yeah, thank you for that, Diana. Yeah, Anneka.
Yeah, and following on a point that Diana and Natasha both made about the fact that the financial industry is relevant to everybody. And I think I really wanted to home in on that because it's so powerful. Think about what's happening with central banks, monetary policy, which is key right now. The multiplier effect on how that has a consequence on literally everything that we are doing in our lives. It's really powerful. So I would really concur with that. And I think, look at the stats, for example, that around 2/3 of households, the wealth management at home are being conducted by women. So they're totally ingrained in this system, whether they realize it or not. So let's make that clear.
And Katja, with COVID, of course, balancing family and work became increasingly challenging, I guess, especially for women. So what kind of impact has that had on, equality measures or on women's career?
Well, I think we can see some positive parts of that COVID thing, because in the time before COVID, it was always a discussion for women to work from home because home office was just not so accepted. And most of the time, women are in charge to take care of kids and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just easier to work from home. And working from home is accepted right now, which I think is a really big advantage. But on the other hand, we really have to make sure, and that is responsibilities of the firms to steer the process, that not only the women are working from home and are not visible anymore in the firms, because that's certainly a risk. But I think we have some advantages out of it. But we just have to make sure to steer the process and not have only women working from home and men being in the office and being visible and getting the jobs.
Diana, how can public and private sectors actually work together to have more effective actions?
An example of this one, which we have here, I think we've heard many of them on the call today, but we are building, for example, 30,000 business education partnerships. So we have companies like yourself who are providing time to your employees, to be mentors, to to go and present, to judge them, to be with the young people in any way possible. We have around 100,000 business volunteers dedicating their time to inspire the young people. So to me, that kind of collaboration and connection is very important because they will not be able to learn the same thing from the teacher. And let me just give you the example from my son. He came from school one day, he was 7, and he said, "Mom, I know why I cannot, you cannot buy me Lego Star Wars every day. But there is part of your salaries that have taken to pay the school so that we can go there." Now, I wouldn't have been able to say that to him, to convince him, but business volunteering was a women mentor, was really able to express how the economy was working. And this is what stuck to them. So the impact that you are having, that I was also mentioning before, it's really poisonous because that's what they remember. They remember those examples, they remember those real stories, the human aspect that you said, and that's important. So that's why for us, bridging the gap between education and the world of work is key, and that's why
we're almost running out of time. I actually wanted to ask you maybe something a little bit more personal, which is, and let's start with you, Anneka, the best piece of advice that you've gotten in a particularly difficult moment as women in finance. Do you remember, something that someone said or did that kind of helped you and spurred you on?
That's a great question. And well, the answer is probably not as sophisticated as one might hope for, but it's keep it simple. Because, well, I can certainly speak for myself, but I know it tends to be quite a female attribute of over-analyzing. That classic example of applying for a job, do I have enough ticks in the box to apply, etc. But keep it simple. Don't over-analyze. Don't overthink. Do what feels good. Follow your gut, because you've probably done more than enough homework in order to get to the direction you want to go to.
Truth. Natasha.
Yeah, maybe just one personal experience. Someone that I had the greatest admiration for one day took me for breakfast and told me, "This is where I see you in 10 years' time." And that really sort of sunk in gradually and was a huge boost to my self-confidence. Actually, I can achieve that. So my message to other women would just be, believe in yourself, just put your minds to it, and you can do it.
Wonderful. Diana?
My first mentor told me to dream big. And I think I kind of left it with me, because I feel that that's something I would like to pass on to all the girls out there, to dream big and believe that the sky is the limit.
And Katja?
Well, be visible, raise your hand when there is a job to be done, and believe in yourself. It was actually the best advice I got.
What a perfect way to end this panel. Thank you all for joining us today. And to learn more about our new initiatives, our ambassadors, and how we will work with young girls throughout the EU to inspire them to become finance leaders, you can visit Bloomberg.com EU Women in Finance. Have a great day, everyone.